Hello and welcome to the TechBrain channel. My name is Joe Nurenda. In this video, we are attempting to do the impossible, to cover MongoDB aggregations in 10 minutes. If you'd like to perform complex queries in MongoDB, you have to go beyond just using the ordinary find one. You have to use the aggregation framework. The aggregation framework allows you to create computable functions over your MongoDB data. There is a dedicated uh, query framework to do that. So what we're doing in this video is exploring whether it is actually possible for us to cover the basics of MongoDB aggregations within 10 minutes. So without any further ado, let's dive in. So this is a breakdown. So we'll look at an introduction, we'll look at the aggregation pipelines, then we'll look at common stages, example queries, and on top of that, we also look at use cases for aggregations. So what are aggregations, I hear you ask? So think of it as a way for me to process data and return computed results from my MongoDB collections. So I might be querying a single collection, or I might actually be querying data across multiple collections, maybe in some sort of a lookup. I could also be performing an ETL process. I'm extracting the data from a collection, performing some transformations on that data, and then loading it into another collection. So you do have stages or processing steps that allow you to be able to do that. For those of us that are familiar with SQL, it is very similar to, say, grouping your data and then summing it on some columns. So why use aggregations? As you start storing a lot of data in MongoDB, you get to a point whereby you probably would like to perform some sort of analysis, create some reports, and maybe take the source data and present it in a different format. That could be used to feed some downstream applications. So you build a service and then you're feeding some downstream applications with that data. So you're computing new fields in that transformation. So this is where aggregations fit in. What tools do I need to use the aggregation framework? You can use the aggregation builder if you are using Atlas. Alternatively, if you have access to MongoDB Compass, MongoDB Compass provides an aggregation builder that I'll be using in this demo. So let me get that fired up. So I am using MongoDB Compass, and I believe I'm on the latest version, which as of this recording is 1.4.4. So that's the tool that we're going to be using. So I'll move my screen over here and let's dive in. So I do have a local standalone MongoDB database, so I will connect. So let me try to make a connection. So I'll do add a new connection. So I'm connecting there, and I'll just call it local database, and give that a red color there, and I'll favorite this connection, and then connect. Okay, so I am connected. There is a collection or a database called test, or is it demo? I believe it's demo, and I have a sales collection in here. So that is my sales collection. I'll go to the aggregations tab, and it is from here that I'll start building my aggregation based queries. So in terms of a high level overview, we can think of an aggregation pipeline as being comprised of multiple stages. Think of it as similar to maybe a conveyor belt. So with a conveyor belt, I've got some inputs coming into that conveyor belt, and there's probably a workstation that applies some sort of operation to my inputs. The outputs of that process then form the inputs for the next processing station. And it goes on like that until I get my finished product at the end. So in much the same way, an aggregation pipeline is comprised of stages, as we can see in this structure given to us here. We have multiple stages. So stage one performs an operation on my input, produces an output which goes to stage two. So stage one might be a filter. I would like to find certain products that have a category of perhaps electronic. So I get all my products that are in the electronic category, and then the next stage will say, find me the product that's got the highest price, or perhaps the average price of these items that are in the electronics category. And then the last stage there, stage N, might say, I want to be able to see some other fact about this category. So you can have as many stages as the problem requires there. So I'll start here, and the first thing I'll do is try to find all products that are in the electronics category. This will be my first stage. So I'll perform a match. So I have a match, and I have something that says category equal to electronics. Okay, so we've got everything that's in the electronics category, and we can see the match stage. If I look at the text view, this is what I get. So this is, get rid of that comment. This here is my filter. My filter will benefit from using an index. What I'll do is continue. So that's my first stage. What's the next stage? The next stage might be something that says, find me the average cost of an item that's in the electronics category. And for that, I'll be doing some sort of grouping. So what am I grouping by? I'm grouping by this category that was given to me. And how do I reference that category? So the category is called electronics. So I'll simply say dollar category, which is that value there. And I want to find the average price. So I'll introduce an average field. And what's the value for the average field? Or rather, how do we compute this value for the average? So I'll use something we refer to as an aggregation expression. In this case, it's actually an accumulator. So it will accumulate the results for that category and perform the relevant computation. So we're performing an average on what exactly? We're performing an average on what was the cost. So we wanted to find out the average cost. So here, better, we call this field cost. And then this value here that we're averaging is called the cost. So we've been able to perform that computation. Now, if we want to be able to see the names of the products as well, what are the unique products across this category? How would I do that? So the way for me to do that is to add another accumulator, and we'll call this my products. So these are the products. And how do I get the products? So I get the products by being able to push, but I'll do better than push. I'll use my $add to set. So I'll say add to set, and what's the set? What's the value that I'm adding to this set? So the value is going to be product. So that's my product. So I can see that I have 4 unique products, rather 5 unique products: laptop, smartphone, monitor, smartwatch, tablet. So these 5 unique products, this is the average cost. I had to use an add to set instead of a push. If I use a push, you notice that I will get duplicates. Laptop, laptop, monitor, monitor. So I want unique products. Hence, my decision to use add to set. Okay, so there we go. So if we now look at the overall pipeline, this is what it looks like. There is a stage which filters, a stage, which groups, and just perhaps a point of correction, subsequent stages have a dependency on the stages before them, as you can see here. Okay, what else can I add in here? It is possible that I could also add information about what was the maximum price. So I'll say dollar, in fact we'll say maximum price for these products. So max price. So again, I'll use an accumulator. So we'll say dollar max, and we'll say dollar, what was the, do we have a price field? We don't have a price field. We have an amount field. So I'll go for amount. So go for amount. What's the maximum amount? So we'll do that amount. Okay, so we've got our pipeline there. So in the next stage, I'll do a little bit of tidy up, and this is where I'll use a projection. So the idea of the projection is that it allows me to specify the fields that I would like to see in the output. So what fields do we want to see in the output? So currently we've got something that says _ID electronics. So just rename that to a category, and we'll say something like reference the value in that field. So say dollar _ID, and then the next is a local price. We'll say local price in whatever currency that might be. So let's say in Zambian kwacha. So in Zambian kwacha, we'll do something like this, assuming that's dollars. So I'll need to use the relevant operator here. So we'll say dollar, multiply that, and what are we multiplying it? So we're multiplying the average cost. So we'll say dollar average cost, and multiply that by what the exchange rate is today. So maybe it's about 26 kwacha to a dollar. I'll tidy that up, and we've got some syntax error. So it's, as you can see here, it says I only support numeric types. Okay, numeric types, we can see where the errors of our ways are. So that's a numeric value there. So remember that MongoDB is strongly typed. It does have a type system. And what other field did I want? So category is included. I also need to make sure that category is also excluded from the output. Or rather, _ID is excluded from the output. So say something like that. And also we want the maximum amount. And we'll have something that says max amount is to be included. Okay, so what we've done here is transform the initial data that we started off with using these three stages: a match, a group, and also a projection. Let's go back here, and what we'll do is remove the filter. So remember what we spoke about, the fact that if I would like to debug a given stage, I can go to the relevant stage and perform any debugging. So now we've got a slightly different result. I've turned the filter off, and we've got all the categories coming through, and I'll add another stage before the projection. So get rid of that, another stage before the projection. Actually, we can add it after the projection, and we're going to sort based on local price. So we'll sort based on local price in descending order. So the most expensive item, and also we want to see our products. So Remember, we want to see our products as well. So products include that as well. And we can see the products there. So for electronics, that's what we get. We also have a maximum price as well. The pipeline is this one here. So it is an array of the various stages. So if I wish to export this to any language to continue working with, I can easily do that. So I'll copy that, close here, open the Mongo shell, and set the pipeline up. So that's my pipeline. So pipeline, that's the value for the pipeline. I can then say db.sales and aggregate and pass the pipeline in. And we get to see the same results that we saw in the Compass aggregation builder. So you can run these pipelines either from the Mongo shell, the Compass aggregation builder. Alternatively, you could do that in the Atlas aggregation builder. So that gives us a good idea of what an aggregation pipeline looks like. So just to recap, we saw stages that allowed us to filter documents based on conditions. We're able to group. We also performed some sorting. We did a projection. Projection was allowing us to reshape the document. We could do a computation within the projection. And then perhaps if you'd like to limit the results that you see. So you are going to have a method to actually limit those results. So let's go back here and I'll go to the pipeline and I'll set a limit. So currently I get how many documents? I get 3 documents coming back. But let's say we'd like to limit the documents that are being returned to maybe just 2 documents in the output. So you could say limit this to 2 results only. So those are the 2 results. So these are just comments, quite useful if you're learning, but you can turn them off if you don't need them. And there we go. So this pipeline can benefit from me having an index on the fields that I query on. So that brings us to the end of aggregation pipelines in MongoDB. Performance tips. So aggregation performance tips. Make sure that you use indexes effectively when using a match and a sort. Minimize the number of documents passed between stages, so make sure that you're filtering, and use the limit early in the pipeline to reduce the processing time. So aggregations are an extremely powerful way of querying your data in MongoDB. They help you to combine multiple stages for complex queries. We've just scratched the surface here. There's a lot more that you can do with this framework. So what you can do from here is to practice with real data sets to master these concepts. If you'd like to get more information, you can visit the MongoDB website. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. See you next time. Bye bye.